Hello, my name is Natalie, and I'm a 38-year-old woman. These past few months have been an incredibly challenging period as I found myself having to relearn and reassess many aspects of my life. Much of the difficulty stems from my relationship with my husband, Willie, but thankfully, a compassionate individual stepped in and helped me through some of the darkest moments. Let me introduce you to the people involved in my journey. First, there's my sister, Lori. She's 5 years younger than me and stunningly beautiful. Growing up, we often clashed. Lori was the popular one, the star of her social circles, while I was the classic nerd. She would tease me often, and it always felt as if there was a hint of jealousy driving her actions. Our mother tried to bridge the gap between us, but her efforts yielded little progress. By the time I went off to college, Lori and I barely spoke. Yet, as we entered adulthood, we slowly reconnected. Although our relationship never grew particularly close, I came to accept the connection we had. Then there's Willie, my ex-husband. We met at work, hit it off quickly, and after 4 years of dating, decided to get married. Together, we bought our first home. Since I was the higher earner, the mortgage and house deed were under my name. A couple of years into our marriage, Willie brought up the idea of starting a family. He approached it gently, hoping I'd be open to it. "Honey, I've been thinking," he began. "We've been together for a while now, and maybe it's time to consider having a family of our own." I sighed, knowing this conversation would come eventually. "Willie, you know my reservations," I replied. He nodded. "I understand, but think about it. We're stable, and it could be wonderful to have little versions of us running around." "Yes, but raising children is a massive commitment and responsibility," I said, feeling the weight of the decision. Willie smiled. "And who's more hardworking and responsible than us?" Eventually, despite my hesitation, I gave in to Willie's request and we welcomed our son, followed by a daughter 4 years later. At first, Willie was a supportive partner, but before long, the balance in our relationship shifted dramatically. The responsibilities of home and childcare began to fall solely on my shoulders. After our son was born, Willie's career took off with a promotion, and he soon out-earned me. He suggested I leave my job to focus on our family. Reluctantly, I agreed, settling into the role of a full-time parent. To keep myself connected to the outside world, I started hosting dinner parties that often included my mother, Lori, and my mother-in-law, Amanda, especially when she was visiting. This new chapter brought some comforts. I cherished the extra time with my children and the regular visits from family. Even though my relationship with Willie seemed stable, a difficult birthing experience with our second child left me deeply scared, affecting our dynamic. Just when I thought I had finally adjusted, I made a disturbing discovery that shattered my sense of stability. One day, while tidying up our bedroom, I found a pair of women's underwear that didn't belong to me. My heart sank with a mix of shock and sadness. Was I no longer enough for Willie? The timing was especially painful. I was still recovering from our daughter's birth, barely a year past, and was seeing a therapist to work through my postpartum challenges. As I was beginning to make slow progress, the suspicion of infidelity felt like a devastating setback. Overcome with anger and betrayal, I needed answers. I snapped a photo of the underwear and sent it to Willie, asking for an explanation. Then, in a haze of desperation, I turned to his laptop, logging into the social media accounts and sifting through his messages. At first, there was nothing suspicious, no unfamiliar names or strange conversations, which only deepened my confusion and unease. As I dug deeper into his digital life, I braced myself for what I might uncover. I scoured through Willie's messages, digging into every conversation, hoping against hope that I wouldn't find anything incriminating. His chats were mostly with familiar contacts, and although my sister Lori's name kept popping up, it didn't alarm me at first. Why should it? I'd never thought twice about my husband and sister exchanging messages. But a nagging feeling told me to look closer, and what I discovered left me reeling. Their messages were filled with intimate photos, affectionate videos, and declarations of love. They even discussed plans for Willie to leave me. My stomach twisted as I read on, trying to process the betrayal from my own sister. We'd had our ups and downs over the years, but I never imagined she would hurt me like this. Feeling sick and betrayed, I tried calling Willie, but he didn't answer. So I called Lori instead. "Hey, what's up?" she answered casually. "But what's up me, Lori?" I said, my voice trembling with anger. "How could you?" She sounded confused. "I don't know what you mean." "Well, I found a pair of your underwear in my bedroom." Have you been sleeping with Willie? My voice cracked as I spoke the words. Her response was chillingly nonchalant. Yeah, for a while now. Why? I asked, barely able to breathe. You're my sister. Didn't that make you think twice? She had an absurd excuse ready. Look, I thought I was helping you out. I was keeping Willie busy so you could focus on the kids. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you serious? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're tearing our family apart. I just want what's best for Willie. If I'm the best for him, then so be it, she said, her words hitting me like a slap in the face. You're disgusting, I spat before hanging up, unable to fathom her audacity. Alone and devastated, I lay in bed, tears streaming down my face as I tried to process the magnitude of the betrayal from the two people I trusted most. Later that night, my youngest daughter woke up crying. I held her, moving through our routines mechanically, my mind numb with grief. I kept my distress hidden from the children. They didn't need to carry the weight of adult problems. I picked up my older child from school, made dinner, and answered their innocent questions about their dad's absence with a fabricated story about him working late. As night wore on, my anger shifted to worry. It was nearing 10 p.m., and there was still no sign of Willie. I called him repeatedly, but he didn't pick up. Desperate, I dialed Lori, but she too was unreachable. Exhausted and overwhelmed, I eventually fell asleep, clinging to the hope that this was all just a nightmare. Morning brought a harsh reality. Willie's absence was undeniable, and a quick look around the bedroom confirmed my worst fears. Most of his belongings were gone. He'd left in the night without a word, without any attempt at closure. Stunned and heartbroken, I knew I had to push through my pain. My children needed me, and I was determined to protect them from the fallout of this betrayal. I got the kids ready, dropped my eldest off at school, and took my youngest to my mother's house. The moment I walked in, my mom sensed something was wrong. My attempt to hold it together was failing, and as the morning dragged on, the thought of raising two children alone began to crush me. Finally, my mom couldn't take the silence anymore. Okay, I've had enough of this. What's going on? She asked, her voice firm. Gathering my courage, I started from the beginning. I found out Willie's been cheating on me. Her face contorted in shock. What? How do you know? I took a deep breath, the words heavy. I found another woman's underwear in our bedroom. As I shared more, emotions I'd kept bottled up started pouring out, marking the beginning of a new, uncertain chapter. When I confronted Willie about it, he didn't respond. He just left. I said. Left? What do you mean? She asked, bewildered. I woke up this morning and all his things were gone. He took everything in the night without a word. The disbelief was still raw. Oh, my poor girl, my mom said, her voice filled with sorrow. It gets worse, I hesitated, bracing myself to share the full extent of the betrayal. I snooped through his things and found out. It's Lori. My mom gasped, shock evident on her face. Your sister? Yes, I whispered, the bitterness of the words making me feel sick. I called her, and she was so casual about it. She said they were in love and thought she was better for him. My mom's face hardened, and she shook her head in disbelief. What has Lori done? I can't believe this. She put a hand on my shoulder. I don't know how you're going to get through this, but I'll be here to help, okay? I nodded, feeling a glimmer of relief in her support. Telling her wasn't as hard as I'd imagined, and the weight of the truth finally shared allowed me a moment of rest. I ended up falling asleep while she took care of my youngest. When I woke, I heard my baby crying and my mom's raised voice in the next room. I rushed out to find her angrily ending a phone call. She turned to me, looking apologetic. I'm sorry for the noise, she said, not elaborating, but I knew she'd been giving Lori a piece of her mind. Over the next few days, Mom stayed with us. She even asked me to block Lori on her behalf, choosing to shut out the one who had hurt us so deeply. Having my mother's support gave me strength to face the aftermath. One particularly lonely day, friends reached out, concerned by rumors of a quick wedding between Willie and Lori. News had already spread that they'd gotten married just a day after Willie had left. Humiliating as it was to admit what had happened, their responses were comforting. My friends chose to cut ties with both of them, standing by me in solidarity. When I told my mom, I could feel her fury. Normally the calmest person I knew, her anger underscored the gravity of Lori's betrayal. But her support was unwavering, not only emotionally but financially as well. She went above and beyond, helping me line up job interviews to regain my independence. Day-to-day life with the kids was challenging but manageable, The hardest part was hiding my sorrow when they asked about their dad. Each time, I put on a brave face, determined not to let his actions define our lives. About a week after Willie's departure, I received a letter from him. But by then, my heart had hardened. I didn't want his apologies or excuses, especially not after the silence that followed his disappearance. In a moment of anger, I burned the letter, a final gesture of closure. Sometimes, in quieter moments, I wondered what he might have said. Part of me regretted not reading it, wondering if there could have been any explanation that would make sense of the wreckage he'd left behind. But the decision was made, and I resolved to let the past go. I had to move forward, focusing on rebuilding a life for my children and myself amidst the turmoil. I often reminded myself that nothing Willie could have written in that letter would change how I felt or undo the damage he'd caused. The next day, hoping to lift our spirits, my mom and I took the kids to the fair. Surrounded by the lively atmosphere, we allowed ourselves to relax and laugh, finding a much-needed escape from the recent turmoil. Later that evening, as we unwound with a glass of wine, I mentioned the letter. "Something came in the mail last night," I began. "Oh, what was it?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. "A letter from Willie." "What did it say?" she asked, assuming I'd read it. "I don't know. I didn't open it," I admitted. "You didn't open it? Why not?" "I just didn't want to deal with anything he had to say, so I burned it," I replied, trying to sound casual. Her eyes widened. "Natalie, what if it was something important, like divorce papers?" "It didn't look official at all. I'm pretty sure it wasn't that," I reassured her. "Well, if you're certain, what do you think he wanted to say?" "Probably a weak apology or something about wanting his things back." "I wouldn't be surprised," I said, brushing off the nagging thoughts about the letter's contents. She paused, then shifted her gaze back to me. "How are you feeling about everything now?" "Today was a good day, but it's hard. Especially when the kids keep asking about their dad. I don't even know what to tell them," I admitted, feeling the weight of the situation creep back in. "It's okay if it's still hard, as long as it's getting a bit better. And I want you to know, I'm here for you, always," she said. She hesitated, then added, "I'm planning to cut ties with your sister. Everything I have will go to you and the kids." "Oh, Mom, that means so much, but are you sure?" "Lori's still your daughter," I replied, realizing the magnitude of her decision. "She may be my daughter, but what she did was unforgivable. I raised both of you better than this, and she clearly didn't care," she said, her voice resolute. "She's no longer my daughter in my eyes." It was a harsh decision, and while I understood, I knew it couldn't have been easy for her. The thought of disowning my own child was unimaginable, and it only deepened my gratitude for my mom's unwavering support. 5 days later, a knock at the door broke the quiet routine we'd settled into. I wasn't expecting anyone, and with my mom at work, visitors were rare. Opening the door cautiously, I saw two men in black suits on my porch. "Can I help you?" I asked, peering out. "We're lawyers and we have something for you," one of them replied, handing me an envelope and then a check. My eyes widened as I glanced at it. A check made out to me for $920,000. "There must be some mistake," I stammered. "There's no mistake," they assured me. "Please read the note." Opening the envelope, I found a letter from Amanda, my mother-in-law. She'd come by 5 days earlier but found no one home. When she called Willie, he hinted that he was locked out because I had changed the locks. Sensing something was wrong, Amanda had pressed him until he admitted everything. Appalled by his behavior, she had made arrangements to write me and her grandchildren into her will. In her note, she thanked me for saving her from entrusting her estate to Willie, and she explained that she was terminally ill. She had passed away the day before, ensuring her last wish was fulfilled. Her assets went to me and the children. Tears streamed down my face as I read her words. Amanda's unexpected kindness and unwavering support, even in her final days, was both heartwarming and bittersweet. Her integrity and strength were traits I had admired, and even though Willie resented them, they had been a comfort to me. Not long after Amanda's passing, Willie reached out over the phone. I expected an attempt at reconciliation, but I chose to listen. "What's this all about?" he demanded. "You'll need to be more specific," I replied calmly. "Why weren't you at the house when I asked?" "I sent you a letter with instructions for my mom's visit," he said. "Oh, that was in the letter? I never read it." "I burned it," I admitted. "You burned it. You've ruined everything," he accused. "Mom was supposed to help with her estate, but you've taken everything for yourself." That's hypocritical, Willie. You left us, and now you only care because of the money. Your mother made her decision to protect us. Please don't contact me or the children again, I responded, ending the call firmly. I moved swiftly to legalize our separation. The divorce was straightforward, and I was granted full custody of our children. Willie tried to challenge Amanda's will to claim a portion of the inheritance, but her documents were ironclad, leaving him unsuccessful. Willie and Lori continued to harass me, hoping I'd relent, but I stayed resolute in my decision. The inheritance allowed me to secure my children's future, fund their education, and make sound investments to ensure our stability. It also gave my mom the chance to retire comfortably. I returned to work, and although it was a challenging adjustment for the kids, we found our new rhythm. In time, when they're mature enough, I'll share the full story with my children. Though the memories still carry some pain, I'm optimistic about the future. There's a sense of promise in the road ahead, and I'm confident that brighter days are on their way.